Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to a Q&A. I haven't done this on here. In fact, I don't think I've ever done a Q&A on YouTube. I always do them on Instagram and then I feel completely overwhelmed when I get all of the questions and it's all just a little bit too much. So I figured, let's do it this way. I needed to make a video this week, so I thought I'd answer all of your questions. So I asked on Instagram the other day for a load of questions and I've just actually scribbled them all down because there was loads of kind of like repeats or almost repeats. So I've kind of just put them into little categories and I thought I'll go through each category and answer kind of like all of the questions that were very similar in one go, which is already a lot easier than on Instagram when it's kind of like, I've answered this, but I need to answer this bit. So yes, let's do a little Adventures by Knapps Q&A. Callum is actually at work. He was going to sit down with me and do this, but I needed to get it done. And the girls have gone back to school today, so that's why I'm quickly doing it. I've closed the windows so the neighbours can't hear me, and I'm absolutely sweating because hashtag internal radiator going on down here. So if I start to get really flushed, then that's why. So the first question that I got so many times was to do with baby and holidays and trips and Disney trips. So I've got, how old will baby be on his first trip to Florida? Have you planned baby's first holiday? Are you hoping to take mini nap away from a young age? When's baby boy's first trip? We took ours at 6 months. Are you nervous to travel with a baby? When's the next Disney trip? Will being back at the baby stage slow down your travels? Will having a third child change how you holiday? Resort, room choices, frequency, cost, etc. There's lots of things that I could cover in there, but absolutely will not change how we do anything. Like we have said from the beginning on this channel and on our other socials, that having children, no matter how many, should not change how you do things. Yes, you'll do them differently, but absolutely nothing will change. The last question where it was like resort, room choices, etc. We are lucky to be DVC, which I will go into because there's some DVC questions. And a lot of the rooms they sleep 5 or 6. A lot of the studios sleep 5 or 6. So we basically just need to make sure that once he gets to the out of the cot stage, that we just choose a room that sleeps 5, basically. that's all there is. It won't change anything else. Resorts wise, we tend to pick our resorts anyway based on the girls because we actually spend a lot of time in the resorts. We're not park heavy people. So that we kind of already make those decisions around the girls and we kind of ask them where they want to stay and things. So the only difference is that we'll just have another input from him as he gets older. Nothing will change, and I strongly believe in the fact that you can do anything even when you've got kids. You just have to adapt to how you do it, and yeah. So yeah, won't slow down our travels, won't change how we're doing anything. Not nervous in the slightest. We took both the girls away, like they both flew from when they were a few months old, so we kind of know what we're doing, and I think that's definitely a key tip if you are going to want to travel with kids and you've got a baby. Just start them as young as possible because our girls are, we say it on all of our travel day vlogs, incredible travellers, incredible. Don't get me wrong, we have moments which we don't film out of respect for them and us as a family, but just starting them as young as possible, getting them used to flying, if you can, is definitely the key because I think they were both about 5 months when they flew for the first time, I think. We drove down to the south of France with Lyla that took us like 10 hours. Just get them used to being on the go, being on the move, being in new places. I'm not saying it'll be easy, but I always think, you know, like when you're on a flight and it's really long, I always just think we're going to get there. We are going to get there at some point. We're not going to be sat on this plane forever. So you just get through the hard times knowing that in a few hours time you're going to have your end destination. In terms of when our first Disney trip or first holiday is, we have got hello, I should have said everyone else isn't here, but Ellie's here. We have got plans, but they are so penciled in at the moment, just because we don't know how things are going to go. When baby's here, we want to make sure that we're settled and everything's fine and everyone's healthy and kind of everything is as we would want it to be. So I'm not sharing when that trip is planned for, just because then I don't want to be like, we're not going, etc. So the accommodation's booked and the flights are booked but not paid for. So everything is cancelable. We've done everything so that we can kind of not go if we need to, which obviously, hopefully, fingers crossed, will not be the case and we can go. But we have got trips planned, but I'm just not going to share when they are just yet. The next kind of topics of questions were about DVC and a little bit of cruising. I will come back to cruising a bit later, but we had a few questions about DVC. So they were kind of what our upcoming trip plans are, DVC talk, do you sell your points for cruises, etc. Has DVC been worth it for you? Would you recommend? What was it that made you take the plunge to try Disney cruises? Are you still glad you became DVC members? It feels like your hearts are with cruising more. That question was a bit like no, this just shows how the wrong impression can be put across by what you share on social media. We will never regret ever buying DVC. The only regret we would have is what most DVC members will tell you, is that we didn't buy it sooner. But the time wasn't right sooner. The time was right when we bought it. So fate and all of that. But we will absolutely never regret being DVC members. It was the best decision we've ever made. I will say that was 5 years ago. If we were buying now, we will probably be priced out of buying direct. I don't think we would be able to buy direct. No, there's no think about it. We wouldn't be able to buy direct if we were buying now, because the prices are insane. But that also kind of just is a bit of a comfort as well, that it's not something that we're ever going to lose money on, ever. We could probably sell our contract now for more than we bought it for, and we've got our money's worth already out of it 5 years later. Like, that's how much of an amazing decision it was that we did it, and we are so pleased and so thankful and so lucky that we did when we did. So much so that literally, like, we are always just working towards adding on more points. That's our only aim in life, is to be able to be at a point where we can add on more points. because it's never enough. Has it been worth it? Worth is so subjective. I can't answer for anybody else that question. I can't answer that for other people. You have to work out what you would spend on trips if you were going on trips. I know a lot of people say, if you'd never pay cash to stay in a deluxe resort, then it maybe is less worth it than if you would want to pay cash to stay in a deluxe resort, because that's where you're getting your money's worth with the deluxe resorts. But for us, I'd say absolutely. There is no way we could be paying cash for the trips that we get to take. There's no way we could stay at all of the places that we get to stay at. And like our first trip that we did, we had 5 nights in a 2-bedroom villa at Copper Creek. And we priced it up, and if we'd have paid cash for that, we would have paid £12,000. Now, we wouldn't have paid £12,000 because we wouldn't ever have done that. But that was like half of our contract cost for 50 years. Yes, we were paying like dues and things, but it's just things like that. Like, I remember when we did a trip to Animal Kingdom Lodge with flights, dining plan, tickets, everything, and it was £5,000. Now that trip would be triple that. So it's just weighing up how often you're going to go, whether you want to keep going for years and years and years and years, the balance of then paying your dues and your flight costs and things like that. So there's lots of things. Like, we've then kind of taken money away from other sides, so we fly as cheap as we can. We rarely fly into MCO because it's more expensive. We don't always do the parks, so we're not buying tickets every time. If that's something that you feel like you could do, like we love a resort trip. Like, we go to be in the bubble and it's not always about the parks for us. So there's lots and lots and lots of things that you need to weigh up, and just kind of like do spreadsheets and spreadsheets of finances and when you'll break even and what you would spend versus what DVC costs, and hopefully that will kind of help you come to a decision. But I know it's not right for everybody. Everybody does things differently, but I think that's just why it's so hard to put a worth on it. And just quickly on the do you sell your points for cruises, we have done that once. We've rented our points out to pay for a cruise. It's worth just saying that you can use your points on the cruises, but you just don't get your money's worth for them. It's actually, you get more value out of it by renting your points out and then using the cash to pay for the cruise. We have done that once, but we never have enough points now to do it because we need them all for all of the trips that we have planned. So yeah, but we have done it once and it worked really well. Then what was it that made you take the plunge to try Disney cruises? We've cruised before, and then it was just during COVID when they did the Magic at Sea cruises in the UK. We did that because we wanted to have some magic. It was the only kind of option at that time, so we did it. I mean, we just fell in love with it. Some of our friends had done it before and told us how amazing it was, and it was always in the plans. But that was the moment that sealed the deal for us, and we've never looked back. So yeah, it feels like your heart's with cruising more. Absolutely not. It's just that our hearts are with cruising more than the parks, not more than the resorts. And DVC is about the resorts, not the parks. So that's maybe where there's a bit of confusion. But I think cruising just gives us the best of both worlds. It gives us the Disney magic, but it also lets us see other places which we really crave to do. But then if you're a Disney fan and you're watching this, you know that there's just that pull back to Disney World. There's just something about it. It just keeps pulling us back. So obviously Alaska was a different kettle of fish completely because we weren't anywhere near Florida. But usually having the cruises just allows us to join a DVC trip and a cruise together because you're in the same place. You're in the right state for that to happen. So yeah, it's just another way of us getting to experience Disney, but also getting to explore at the same time. But it's definitely not affected how we do Disney, and definitely no DVC regrets whatsoever. So the next topic we had 4 questions on was bucket list trips. So we had bucket list holiday, which Disney cruise itineraries are on your bucket list, what is the destination that's top of your bucket list, and places still left on the bucket list. We have got one thing that is absolutely top of our bucket list basically, and we're aiming to do it for our 40th birthdays, which is a few years off just yet. And that is one of the Trans-Pacific cruises. So going from Hawaii to Australia, or vice versa, but I think we'd do Hawaii to Australia. And obviously, whilst we're in Hawaii, we would have to do Aulani. So that's the bucket list. As much as I love the mountains and the lakes and everything, which is what I said in Alaska, I was like, can you be both? Can you be a beach person and a mountains and lakes person? The like tropicalness of Hawaii, and then you visit like Fiji and New Caledonia and kind of all those places which you could only ever dream about going to. It just sounds incredible. And we always kind of thought we'd do a transatlantic. We love the idea of a longer cruise. We thought about joining our friends on the Panama cruise, but it just would have been the wrong kind of age for this little one, we think. So yes, that's our plan. Bucket list destination or bucket list trip is the Trans-Pacific. It's the only thing is obviously the flights are far and expensive. So that's why we're planning it now for a few years' time, just to kind of like give us time to trickle some savings away to help pay for it. And that is the bucket list. Also the Disney Adventure out of Singapore is also on the bucket list. I would love if it stopped, but it sounds like it's going to be more of like a Magic at Sea vibe, so they're not going to have port stops, which makes me a little bit sad, which probably makes it a little bit less of a priority, but the ship just looks insane. So a couple of questions about Alaska. So favourite thing about Alaska and the best time to book a cruise, and any Alaska tips, please. Our favourite thing was just the vibes. It was so chilled. it was such a different feel on the ship to the Caribbean cruises. It was just like chill. That's the only way I can describe it. Like no one was rushing anywhere. Nobody, like, we liked that you didn't have to get dressed up all the time, that it was just like you could snuggle up in your fleece and your leggings all day, every day. The fresh air, and obviously just the scenery. Like I could never ever explain that scenery, and it was just like the 360-degree views. And I think that's why on photos and video it's difficult to portray, because you can't get that 360 view, which was just it blew us away. And it was supposed to be a once in a lifetime, but it absolutely will not be a once in a lifetime. We've already said that in 5-10 years time we will absolutely be back, because it was just something very, very special. In terms of the best time to book a cruise, I actually don't know this. We've booked kind of a few weeks before, and we've also booked a year, 18 months in advance. I think if you're going to book an in-demand cruise, so say like the Panama cruise that our friends were going on, it sold out. It sold out within the first booking days. When it got to kind of like silver in the Castaway Club members, it sold out. So if you're booking an in-demand cruise that there's one only, you need to be on it with booking years in advance. But for kind of just like a Caribbean one, then I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference. I really don't think it makes a whole lot of difference. The prices fluctuate as you go along. But originally we booked Alaska. We would have literally just disembarked yesterday if we were going on the original cruise that we were going to do. And when we cancelled that and rebooked for May, there was no price difference. And we booked the May one. It would have been like end of February, beginning of March. What's that? 2 months in advance. So yeah, I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to that, to when you book. Correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously prices can go up, but they can also go down. So we're really bad at this, because we are not kind of like planners years and years in advance. It's just not what we do. So I don't know if that's very helpful. There was lots of questions about baby boy. So we had the girls excited to be getting a little brother. Do you think it would be different raising a son after being a girl mum for so long? What are you most excited for having a little boy? What are you least excited for? What are the girls doing to get ready for baby? Are they excited? We are literally buzzing. We're so ready now. We're so ready. When we went for the gender scan, genuinely, none of us had a preference. Like, none of us had any preference. We actually just presumed it would be a girl, because we've had 2 girls. Callum's brothers had 3 girls. So we just thought the genetics were just strong on the girl front. So it was a shock, but a wonderful shock. It's just different, isn't it? It's going to be a whole new ball game. I'm excited. So excited. It's going to be, I think, the like boisterousness, climbing, that kind of side, if he's like that, will be a shock to the system, not gonna lie, but we're ready. It's all an adventure. It's all part of the excitement. Yeah, it's gonna be different, obviously, but just in a wonderful way. We can't wait to have a little baby boy in the house, and yeah, just can't wait. The girls are so excited. They were very keen to change nappies until we found out that it was a boy. So now they're like, we might leave you to the nappies, mummy, which is fine. I could deal with that, but they are just going to be, I just know it's going to be like having 2 little extra mums, because they are both so maternal anyway. And yeah, I just know that they're just going to be so involved, and it's going to be lovely. We just love being together as a family, and I just think it's going to be amazing just having another little baby there to kind of like join our little crew. And actually that refer back to the question about the rooms in Disney as well. It's like, we don't mind all sharing a studio room, because we just love being together as a family. So yeah, just think it's going to be wonderful. Not least excited for anything. I'm just going to take in every good and bad moment, because I just feel like we're so lucky, and we've wanted this for so long, that I will just like we'll get the sleepless nights, but we'll get through it. I know we'll get through it because look, we're here now and we don't have that. And I think knowing that there's a light at the end of every tunnel of like the hard parts. Yeah, and I think like I've always been of the mindset of kind of it's not that we have to do it, it's that we get to do it. Like we get to do this, and there's people that don't get to do it, and we are so lucky that we do. So yeah, I'm just excited. I'm excited for the moments where I just sit and sob, because I just know it's all part of the journey. And yeah, does that make sense? I know that sounds really weird, but I'm just so thankful. Just a couple of quick ones now. So in terms of our small shop, we had a couple which was, why does Royal Mail keep knocking on my door with Knapp & Co boxes? When I first read this, I panicked. I was like, oh no, what do they mean? Why does this keep happening? And then I was like, oh, I think it's probably like a wife that keeps ordering from the shop. So sorry, but also not sorry. But it did make me laugh a lot once I realised that. I was like, is this a mean question? But then I was like, no, it's not. And how do you make your products smell like the resorts? Doesn't that take really long? I am so lucky that I worked my socks off to get a really good relationship with a supplier over in the US who supplies for Disney. So basically that's how they smell like the resorts, because they are the resorts. And I'm very, very lucky that I have that relationship. And yeah, it took so much work, and it takes a lot of money, and it takes a lot of import taxes, but yeah, so lucky for that one. Favourite road trip snack? Obviously we do lots of road trips. We always have Haribo, and we always have the big bags of like sharing crisps, so like hand cooked crisps. We always have those. They just go round and round the car. They're our top 2 road trip snacks. Favourite Disney memory? My first thought went to when we were picked as family of the day at Tusker House, and we got to meet all of the characters. That was from like a vlog in 2018, maybe 2019. I'll try and find it and link it. But yeah, we got to meet all of the characters before breakfast, and it was just like unbelievable that happened to us. But actually, then I just always go back to January of last year, January 2023. Callum and I were going just on our own because he was running the Dopey Challenge, and we were like, oh, is it going to be really unfair to have the girls there in early starts and kind of it be about the running rather than it be about the family time? So we decided just to go, and then COVID happened, and then that ended up being the first trip back that was allowed. And literally a week before we were flying, I just said to Callum, we need to take the girls with us, because there was still restrictions, and if we'd have ended up getting stuck out there, because I think we had to test to fly home, I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want to be away from the girls for any longer than was necessary. So we added them on at the last minute, and it was the best decision we've ever made, because that was one of our, if not the best trip we've ever done. It was just so magical. And I remember like my favourite moment, we got to Disney, we were staying in the Poly as our first resort, and we just all held hands, and it was dark and like the flame lights were going, and we just skipped all together holding hands, I'm gonna cry, laughing and giggling just like through the resort. And it was just like, oh my gosh, like this is how it's meant to be, like we're all supposed to be here together. And I just remember like that happiness of like we're here, we've not been able to be here. Yeah, it was just like everything fell into place as it should be. And now, like, I could never imagine going without the girls. Adult only trips sound amazing, and like hats off to anybody that could do it, but I just couldn't do it because I will just always think back to that moment where it's just like, no, we're meant to all be here together. And also they then got to see Callum do the Dopey Challenge, which was like mind blowing in itself. And like they got to see Daddy do that, and they got to watch him finish, and they got to be part of all the celebrations. And I'm gonna cry again. So yeah, that was my favourite Disney moment, and just shows there's no characters involved, no cast members involved, nothing. It was just us, and it was absolutely perfect. So just going back to a few questions about baby and stuff for the moment. So one of them was, have you got a name for baby yet? I know you won't share, just wondered. He's had a name since probably, I think it was probably about 8 weeks. We've always struggled for boys' names. When I was pregnant with the girls, we struggled for boys' names. The boys' name for them was both the same. But yes, so when we kind of found a name, it was just like, that's the one. That's the one. And it's actually turned out to mean a lot to us. His middle name changed. Again, it means a lot. And yeah, I love his name so much. I know that's the point, like you're supposed to, aren't you? But I think even having it be decided for what are we now, like 6-7 months down the line, and I just love it just as much. We don't call him by his name because I want that to be special when he gets here, but we've got lots of things ready with his name on. But yes, we've got a name. It's been decided forever and we're obsessed with it. Someone asked, how are you feeling these days? Thank you so much. That's a really lovely question. Good. I am feeling good. So I have SPD in my pelvis, which if you follow us on Instagram, you might know. And my consultant, I'm consultant led, and she signed me off from work early doors basically because it was starting to increase in intensity, and I am so thankful for that. And yes, I have days where the guilt would be overwhelming, but if I hadn't finished work when I did, I would be on crutches right now. I would be in permanent excruciating pain. So the way that we did it, we kind of managed and prevented it rather than trying to deal with it when it progressed, and it was absolutely the right thing to do. I have no regrets. I have a lot of guilt, but I have no regrets because I know now that I am if I'm kneeling on the floor and I try and get up, my pelvis just splits, and my job involves a lot of kneeling and getting up and kneeling and getting up and sitting in an ambulance for hours at a time. And if I sit for anything longer than kind of like half an hour, I'm just stiff as a board. So I have moments like that where I'm like, oh God, pain is unbearable. But with the girls, with Lyla, I'd ended up on like codeine and on crutches and having weekly physio. Whereas this time we've been able to manage it just with some physio. I've not needed to go onto any painkillers. And I just know what I can and can't do. And it's just been, this question, I know that kind of like a lot of women out there might be able to relate to it. So this lady asked, if you don't mind me asking, how are you feeling about a C-section? I think she then went on to say that it was a decision that she was having to make. This is my third C-section. So I did have C-sections with both of the girls. With Lyla, we had planned a natural labour, but my consultant pulled the plug basically at the last minute and just said it's not safe. I had loads of hip surgeries when I was younger, absolutely fine now, but it just, if something went wrong with the birth, it would be at that point that hip could cause an issue. So basically she just wanted to eliminate any risk of my hip causing an issue, which is why I had a planned but urgent C-section with Lyla. So then obviously just went on to have the same with Daisy, and third time round they were just like, we'd really recommend, and I'm like, absolutely. I'm not going to even put either of us at any risk, but I am definitely nervous. I'm nervous. I think because I know what to expect, even though I also know that it's okay, and I know that the recovery is hard, is making me nervous. And obviously I'm older, but yeah, it's fine. I just want to get him here safely, and I know that that's the way to do it. So I definitely wouldn't choose that route if I didn't have a medical reason to choose it personally, but you've got to do what you've got to do to keep us both safe, and that's what it is. So yeah, I'm nervous. I have some birth trauma from my previous C-section, so we have changed NHS trusts this time, and that's helping because how they do things is very different to the other trust. So I'm really hoping that helps me kind of like resolve some of that trauma. And I'm so lucky because Callum's paternity leave from his company is just phenomenal. So I'm going to have Callum at home, and I think knowing that is just making me feel so much more comfortable and relaxed with knowing that he's going to be here. Also, not having a toddler, I can't imagine doing this and having a toddler again. So having two grown-up girls who will help, having Callum who will help, is just kind of like putting my mind at ease. So yeah, to answer your question, I'm nervous. I think you just have to weigh up the pros and cons, but if it's the safest way, it's the safest way. And yeah, you will recover and you will be fine and it'll be great, but it's just that initial few days is rough. Okay, last couple are about immigration. So there was a question of, do you want to move to America? And then someone asked, or I think said, that they're moving from London, UK to Toronto. Good idea or mistake? I can't answer that question for you. The only person who can answer that question is you. I would move abroad in a heartbeat personally, but I'm not you. I don't know your family situation, so I can't possibly say whether it's a good idea or not. But I just think if it's an opportunity and if there's a chance that you will have a better way of life and be happier, then why wouldn't you? Basically. We did look into moving to America. We at one point I even had a job lined up, but my issue is I'm a registered nurse, but I'm a registered paediatric nurse, and in America that is not a recognised degree. So in America they train, they do their degrees in nursing as a general degree, and then specialise once they've qualified as a nurse. Whereas here we specialise before we train. So I specialise in paediatrics before doing any of my training on my degree. So it's not recognised. So the hospitals would take me. So I had a job lined up in Advent Health, I think it was Celebration. But the nursing board wouldn't take my registration. So you have to kind of take an exam to enter the country, to work as a nurse in America. I think it's called the NCLEX, if I remember rightly. And basically I don't even qualify to take that exam because they don't recognise my degree, even though it's very high, like it's a first class degree in paediatric nursing. I've got 12 years experience in paediatric intensive care, but it means nothing because my degree is in peds rather than general. So yes, we would move to America. But that is what is stopping us. Obviously we could move and work as something different, but the reason we would do it as me being a nurse is because the nursing wages there are a lot higher than here. So if we were then to retrain and work as something else, it wouldn't make it worth our while because the wages wouldn't be enough for us to have the life that we strive to have, if that makes any sense. So yes, we would love to move to America. But going back to the other person that asked the question about Toronto, Canada we could move to in a heartbeat. We would move to Canada tomorrow. We regularly talk about it. Again, they don't recognise my degree, but I know that they are reviewing that, so that could change. But also, I feel like it would be a lot easier for us to work as something else there, like to do something completely different. Because we wouldn't need a working visa to enter the country because of my family links. So let's just say the question was, would you move abroad? Yes, I would go tomorrow. I would go tomorrow just to improve our lifestyle. But it's a big decision, isn't it? Big decision. It's not a decision that you make overnight, but if in 5 years' time we announce that we're moving to Canada, don't be surprised. And then the very last question, I actually have no idea how to answer this, so you might have to bear with me. And it basically just said, what's your perfect Disney day? And I genuinely don't know how to answer this, so bear with me. So I'm going to answer this. So we would wake up in Animal Kingdom Lodge, have some breakfast on the balcony, watch the giraffes, as you do. Then head to Animal Kingdom. We'd rope drop Animal Kingdom, do Flight of Passage, maybe go see the Lion King show, just have a couple of hours in the park, not very long, and then we'd hop on over and do some resort hopping, I think. So then we'd go to the Polynesian, have some lunch at Captain Cook's, have a Dole Whip, get on the boat over to Wilderness Lodge where we would be checking in because we're moving resorts, have an afternoon of pool time, play in the pool at Wilderness Lodge, the vibes of a cocktail, the guys are going off every hour. There'd be some characters wandering around the lobby that we could meet, and then we'd finish in the pool, go and check into our room, which is now available, and then we'd hop on the boat over to Magic Kingdom, get on the monorail to Grand Floridian, have some food at Grand Floridian. There's like a salad at Gasparilla Grill that is so good. Have my salad and then sit on the marina at the Grand Floridian and watch the fireworks from there. And then it would be deluxe hours at Magic Kingdom, so we'd just hop on the monorail to Magic Kingdom, do a couple of rides for the extra hours, and then get the boat back to Wilderness Lodge, get tucked up into bed at Wilderness Lodge. And I think that would be my perfect Disney day, although to make it more perfect, at some point in there we would ride Cosmic Rewind, but I don't know how we'd fit that in because I want pool time and Polly lunch. And so yeah, basically I don't know. So yes, there we go. Thank you so much for all of your questions. We will keep you updated on the Disney trip, I promise, but for now our lips are sealed, just as we get ready to welcome our baby boy. And obviously, again, there'll be lots more to come on this channel, so make sure you're subscribed for all the Disney family lifestyle newborn content that will be coming your way. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for asking your questions, and we'll see you next time.